Welcome to 13 Weeks to Mindfulness by True Path. This is a 13-week series that teaches you how to become organically mindful in your daily life. So we start out by showing you what mindfulness is, which all it is paying attention on purpose. I call it the art of paying attention on purpose because it takes practice. We live most of our days and lives in the future or in the past, when really we should be right here in the present. And when you learn to do that, it definitely enriches your life and the experiences that you have. So last week, we talked about routines and habits and changing it up. And this was kind of the first week that we really started taking the concept of being mindful and practicing it and adapting it into something that you already do. So there's a couple examples of driving to work. Change your routine, change the way you get to work, maybe just a little street. It's going to actually make you have to think about what you're doing. Or brushing your teeth was another one. Use your opposite hand. You're going to have to think about that instead of just mindlessly brushing your teeth. And that's what it is. You're waking up your mind. You're sparking your mind and getting it active. And if you do it in the morning, it's an amazing thing because it'll take you out throughout the day. So that was last week. If you missed that, you can always find all of the links that we're going to have about what we talk about today, as well as all of the other 13 weeks. And you can find that at truepathplanner.com/13. So this week we are talking about slowing down. Yes. In this society, in this world, it's a fast-paced, race. And we're told to go, 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 go big, go home. When in reality, we should learn to be able to slow down in what we're doing and be mindful in what we're doing. And when you're able to do that, you actually live life more efficiently and effectively. There's a story, an analogy I like to use, and it is the story of the tortoise and the hare. Most of us know this story, but for those who don't, it's, the hare who's fast. He's always bragging about how fast he is, and the tortoise got sick of it. So he was like, hey, let's race. And the hare was like, oh, really? Okay, let's go. So they get up to the line and they take off, and the hare's gone. Of course, the hare's fast. So he's over the hill, he's out of sight, and the tortoise takes one step at a time, and he's just moving along. About halfway through, the hare gets tired, and he's so far ahead, he's like, sees a tree, he's just going to lean up against that, and he ends up taking a nap, waking up, and then racing as fast as he can to the finish line where he finds the tortoise already there. So the point of the story is, society tells us to go, go, go. So the society tells us to be the hare. But a lot of times when we just go, 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 we burn out. We get tired. And if you're consistent like the tortoise and just take one step at a time, you're going to get there. And if you talk to any successful, person, no matter, where they are in life, they'll tell you consistency is the key. So if you can learn to be consistent, which means you have to learn to slow down and be mindful in what you're doing, you're going to get there, and you're going to do it more effectively and more efficiently. Another thing that people talk about is they talk about being great multitaskers, and they're proud of it. And that's fine. Be proud of it. But I'm just going to tell you that when you multitask, you become less efficient and less effective. And what I mean by that is there is something called context switching. And context switching is the part where you're going from one activity to another and the amount of energy and time it takes. So when we're doing one thing, right, we're doing it at 100%. That's awesome. That's what you should be doing. You should be mindful about what you're doing. That's the point, right? So then when you start doing two things, we think, oh, now we're doing them at 50%. But that's not true. When you're doing two things at once, you're actually only doing each of them at 40% because the time it takes and the energy it takes to switch between the two takes up 20% of your, time and energy. When you move to 3, you're down to 20% of, effectiveness on each task or whatever you're doing. And it goes down to 5. If you're trying to do 5, you're only doing 5%. The point of this is the more things you try and juggle and do, you may, I'm a great multitasker and I get, 3, 4, 5 things done at once. but you did them inefficiently. You didn't do them very effectively. You're going to have to go back and fix, whatever you messed up the first time, because that's usually how it happens. Instead, focus in on one thing at a time and do it at 100%. Finish that, move to the next. In order to do that, you need to learn to slow down. Otherwise, you're going to do what you're conditioned and programmed to do, and that's as much as possible, as fast as possible. So learning to slow down in your everyday life, and I'll tell you, for me, it really starts in the morning. When you have that morning routine and you can set yourself up at that sort of leisurely pace of, being mindful and doing one thing at a time and, winning your morning, and then you can translate that into the rest of the day. So learning to slow down early on, the first thing you do when you wake up, whether that's a meditation or, whatever that may be for you, that's going to set you up for the day. So this week in True Path, it is slow down. And it says this week, slow down. We are in a rush to do everything these days. Pick something each day and do it mindfully. Choose to slow down and pay attention to the details of whatever it is. It can be washing the dishes, eating, exercises, reading, anything. So this week, pick something each day over here and put it down. What are you going to be mindful of? What are you going to slow down and be mindful of? And, if it's exercising, go in there and be mindful of what you're doing. Whether it's, the treadmill or lifting or whatever you do, be mindful of what you're doing when you're doing it and give it 100% of your attention. And exercising, I'll tell you, is an amazing thing. When you can link the body and the mind, your workouts in your exercise will be so much more effective and you'll see so much more results. So pick something this week, each day, and you can, again, you can set an alarm to figure out what you're going to do. Excuse me. Leave yourself a reminder or pick an activity each day. And, if it's going to be the same thing every day and you do it the same thing, just write it in your weekly True Path here. And then obviously on the day, it's the same thing. Today, I will mindfully, and then slow down. Remember, that's what you're doing here is you're slowing down. Because when you slow down, you can now pay attention to it better. Okay. So that's just this week. And if you can, the point is if you can start to slow down with one thing, then you can add it to the next. And then before you know it, your life will be a much more relaxed. You're still going to get what you're, trying to get done, but you're going to do it more efficiently and more effectively because you've slowed down your mind and you're not missing and messing up while you're doing the things. You're completing it at 100% and you're moving it to the next. It's a pretty cool thing when you can get it down. So I wish you the best this week. Again, not sure where you're viewing this, but you can always go to truepathplanner.com/13 and you'll get all 13 weeks, including the links of what I've talked about and exercises and articles below. And I will see you next week.